Hey guys, yours truly, Kevin Grace. I'm here in New York, right by the Bronx. I'm on Frederick Douglass Avenue and 155th Street. And this is the area where the famed Polo Grounds stadium was for the New York Giants before they took off and went out to San Francisco. There were other sporting teams that played here as well. Even, believe it or not, the New York Jets played here. Actually, the last sporting event was the Jets against the Buffalo Bills, and then in 1964, Shea Stadium opened, and the New York Black Yankees played here, New York Cubans, a lot of different sporting events played here, but this was the third and final Polo Ground. So this opened in 1890. About 1891, the Giants played here regularly until 1957. But I'm going to show you a plaque. And meanwhile, like I said, these are apartment buildings now. As you can see, there's different housing buildings here. You can't see with the trees, but we're going to go a little closer here and we're going to look for that plaque. I know a few years ago they took it down to clean it because it was all dirty and corroded, and I had to come down. Now the thing is, this thing is so close to Yankee Stadium. If you go over this way, Yankee Stadium is over there, and this is Harlem right up here in this area, and I had to come down a stairwell there, but we're going to go over here to see this plaque that folks were telling me about. And I think this is the area where the home plate would have been. So let's go. So guys, I found the plaque. It's all the way in the back on the last building. There are about like 4 different towers here. Now, unlike where the Brooklyn Dodgers played, and hopefully you saw that vlog that I did of the former home of the Brooklyn Dodgers, that's turned into an apartment building, and I think that's about like 2 different buildings. This is like 4 different towers, much bigger and everything else, and spread out. Right now they're doing some type of renovations here. I don't know if it's asbestos or exactly what, but I can't get close to the plaque. I know a couple years ago they took it down, cleaned it because it was really corroded, but it's right over here, and I'll get a better shot of it. And it says basically this is where home plate was. It says Polo Grounds, approximate location of home plate, home of the New York Giants, National Baseball League, 1890 to 1957. World champions 1904, 1905, 1921, 1922, 1933, and 1934. The Giants shared this field with the New York Yankees. That was between 1913, 1921. Of course, you remember when that the Yankees didn't have a place to play, and they were playing here. And then when they got Babe Ruth, that's when they were able to do their thing. Also, the New York Mets played here in 1962 to 1963. Now, this stadium was knocked down April the 10th, 1964. But and this location is called Colligan's Hollow. But yeah, this was where it was over here, home plate. This is where Willie Mays and everybody else were doing some magical stuff. Up the, if I go up the steps, there's a sign up there that says Willie Mays Place, and I think that's where he had a little apartment building. I remember seeing someone do a YouTube video, and there was like a candy store, and he had a little apartment up there. So I may have to hike back up there so you can see that. But yeah, this is the plaque, a little fully, but imagine this is where home plate was, right around this area. And like I said, all over here, they've got all the scaffolding up and everything, and even the little playground is blocked off. Looks like I'm in a steel cage wrestling match. So guys, in 1911, the capacity for the stadium was 34,000, and then in 1923 it was expanded to 55,000. And as I mentioned, they had so many different sporting events here. They had boxing, they had concerts, they had football, and of course the different baseball teams here. The New York Black Yankees, the New York Cubans, the Yankees played here. The New York Titans / Jets played here. All different things, and I'll try to put what videos I can after this video. Maybe you have some memories of being here if you were a youngster before they moved out to San Francisco. But as you can see, look at all these towers that are here. This is the Polo Ground Towers, and this, like I said, this area was known as Killigan's Hollow. And of course the steps you got to take to come down from that bridge is right over there. And as I mentioned, Yankee Stadium is like right over there, right across the Harlem River is Yankee Stadium, to give you an idea where we are. If you like this video, please subscribe down below and feel free to leave any comments about the Polo Grounds in New York. Hey guys, yours truly. I'm here in Harlem on 80 St. Nicholas Street, and if my research is correct, this apartment building right in front of me is where Willie Mays lived, and the Polo Grounds is right down the street, or was down the street. Now it's the Polo Towers, and on a corner they do have a street sign named after him. It says Willie Mays Place, so that makes it now sense of why that street sign is where it is. But this apartment building here was where Willie Mays lived at one time, right here. I think it's called the Crosstown Apartments. But let's go down the street here to West 155th Street, and you'll see the sign that I'm talking about. And also I'll point out to you where the Giants used to play, over here at the Polo Ground, which was demolished April 10th, 1964. See those high-rise public housing? That's where the Polo Ground was. And right here on the corner says Willie Mays Place. So that was named in honor of Willie.
The Polo Grounds was one of the most famous stadium locations in the history of the New York City area. Starting off as a literal polo ground in Central Park, this venue would be rebuilt several times over in its second location in Manhattan. This is the rise and fall of the Polo Grounds. The Polo Grounds would begin as a polo playing area in Central Park. But as a baseball stadium, it would begin its era as such in the 1880s. Slowly but surely, baseball being played at the grounds would surge in popularity, with seating being constructed and expanded throughout the 1880s. By the end of the decade, the first version of the grounds would be moved, and its more famous location near the Harlem River, due to road development in the original location, would be ready for baseball. The main tenant, the New York baseball Giants, would begin their longtime tenure there after their short stay at the original, while also being known as the New York Metropolitan there. The second version was more of a transitory stadium, as the third would be quickly built, with room for 16,000. Over the next 21 years, the grounds were gradually expanded, this time all the way to 31,000. Unfortunately, in 1911 though, a fire would bring the third version to its end. The fourth, final, and most famous version would be ready later that year, and would have some of the strangest dimensions of any ballpark ever built. The edges were unusually close, at under 300 feet. However, the outfield was particularly far, extending to well over 400 feet away from home. The Yankees would vacate the venue after a 10-year stay, and would begin their long-time stay at Yankee Stadium. However, the Giants would double down on their venue in the early 20s, with the capacity increase making it 55,000. By the mid-1920s, it had become an NFL-MLB stadium, then hosting both the football and baseball Giants for 30 years simultaneously. Going into the 50s, the stadium had lost much of its shine, with many newer and better venues being built since its opening. The grounds had simply not aged as well as other stadiums built in its era. The area around it had changed, and the Giants were constantly playing second fiddle to the Yankees. In the later decades at the Polo Grounds, the Giants just really couldn't draw like the Yankees could at their stadium, never exceeding 20,790 in attendance in a season. The area around the stadium was also becoming a low-income housing development, losing much of its charm. In 1957, low attendance, an aging venue, and no plans for a replacement would lead to the decision to move the team to San Francisco. This being 2 years after the football Giants had vacated for Yankee Stadium. Despite this, the Polo Grounds would not be demolished immediately after its two main tenants left, as it would see a second, albeit short life, as a baseball and football venue, with the New York Mets, Jets, and Titans franchises all playing there. In 1964, the Polo Grounds would see its end, with its demolition that year. It was not without seeing much success though for its teams, with 17 pennants for the Giants and 5 World Series wins, the famous Willie Mays catch, and multiple NFL championships for the Giants. Today that location is now housing projects. However, today one reminder still remains, though not actually part of the stadium itself. A staircase that led down the bluff that people used to watch games from to go down to the Polo Grounds remains. Though it didn't quite have the same recognition as stadiums such as Fenway or Wrigley, the Polo Grounds played an important part in the history of baseball, football, and New York City.
Baseball's biggest day, the start of the World Series, with the New York Giants solidly behind manager Bill Terry in his argument with Yankee Joe McCarthy. But here are the real contenders: Carl Hubbell, Giant pitcher and red roughing of the Yanks. And I'll bet Babe Ruth's itching to be in there too, as of yore. The first ball's tossed in by Governor Lehman of New York, and play ball rings out over the Polo Grounds. Hubbell leads off to the first Yankee batter up, Grossetti, and the first Yankee down on a grounder thrown out by Jackson. And now for a few highlights of the game. Roughing hands one to Bartell that goes smack into the stands for the first Giant home run of the series. Boy, those Giant rooters are wild now. And here's another Giant drive in the sixth. Mellott smack down the left field line is a Lulu, and he's stretching it for 2 bases. Ripples up next, and he bunts. A beautiful sacrifice, sending Ott to third. Now it's Mancuso that connects with Ruffing's pitch, and his single sends Ott steaming home for the second Giant run. The rain and mud don't help much. Yankee hopes take a new heart in the 8th when Crossetti finds the secret of Hubbell's mighty arm for a base line drive that's good for 2 sacks, whether Dick Bartell, Giant shortstop, thinks so or not. Next, Rolfe bunts on an attempted sacrifice to send Crossetti to third, but Hubbell fumbles the bunt and Rolfe's safe at first. Things look good for the Yanks now. DiMaggio, their first-year star, is up next. But DiMaggio's line drive is snared by Whitehead at second, the best play of the game, and it's thrown into a double play, catching Rolfe. But you ain't seen nothing yet. Terry starts off the giant fireworks in the last half of the eighth with a clean single to center. Mellott up next, and he lays down a perfect bunt for a clean hit. Ripples the next giant batter, and he sacrifices, advancing Terry and Ott. Mancuso, and then Whitehead gets a free pass, forcing Terry in. Ruffing's in a rough spot, and here's the payoff. Jackson hits a sacrifice fly to DiMaggio, and it does the trick. Ott coming in after the catch to add another giant score. The Yanks are blowing up, and it's a rout. Hubble's tricky grounder is good for a hit and a run or two as the Yanks start throwing the ball around. It's a case where a wild throw means just a couple more giant runs. And there goes your old ball game. Giants 6, Yankees 1.